Radical feminism arose out of the second wave feminist movement in the 1970s with the belief that male-controlled capitalist hierarchy is the cause of women's oppression. While radical feminism includes a multitude of different beliefs, its key distinguishing feature is the refusal to accept the traditional category of woman as it has been defined in the West. Radical feminists take issue with the individualism of liberalism and argue that personal choices and individual achievement are not enough to transform society. While the feminist movement originally focused on dismantling workplace inequality via anti-discrimination laws, the radical women's liberation movement sought to overthrow the patriarchy, which they believed was oppressing every part of women's lives. The use of the many different strategies to achieve this goal, such as pressuring Congress to change laws, publicizing issues such as rape and domestic violence in the media, and reaching out to ordinary women to further their cause. Over time, many subgroups of radical feminism emerged, such as cultural feminism, separatist feminism, and anti-pornography feminism.
As radical women in fear that their concerns would not be taken seriously by the left. The shift from radical woman to radical feminist occurred on October 17, 1968, when a group of feminists identified themselves as the feminists, with organizing principles set out on June 13, 1969. They are especially concerned with sexual and domestic violence, seeing it as...
In 1963, Betty Friedman wrote The Feminist Mystique, which criticized the idea that women could only find fulfillment by homemaking and caring for children. According to her obituary in the New York Times, it ignited the contemporary women's movement in 1963 as a result of permanently transformed the social fabric of the United States and countries around the world. In her book, she claims that women are victims of a false belief system that requires them to find meaning in their lives through their husbands and children's, and specifically locates the system among post-World War II middle-class suburban communities. In 1968, a radical group called the Red Stockings protested the Miss America beauty pageant by throwing girdles, high heels, hair curlers, bras, Playboy magazines, and other instruments of female torture into a Freedom trash can. On the boardwalk of Atlantic City, more than 100 women demonstrated all of the false ways women have to look and act. In fact, the bra burning myth arose because the women originally intended to burn these symbols of oppression. During the crowning of Miss America, several members of the group hung a banner over the balcony and shouted, "Women's liberation." The members of the Red Stockings firmly believed that women were an oppressed class, and they wanted the feminist movement to reject the laws of liberal activism and protest movements. The Red Stockings manifesto called women to unite to achieve liberation from men as agents of oppression. The manifesto insisted women should not be blamed for their own oppression. Red Stockings rejected economic, racial, and class privileges and demanded to end the structure of male-dominated society.
Another notable group was the Women's International Terrorist Conspiracy from Hell, who in 1968 descended upon the financial heartland of New York, chanting Wall Street, up against Wall Street, which organizations have sprung up across the U.S. and as far as Japan, targeting universities, beauty pageants, and Playboy clubs. They protested many wedding fairs, singing "Here Comes the Slaves," off to their graves to the music of the traditional bridal march. At one such fair in Madison Square Garden, they released 100 white mice into the crowd, leading the host of the event to quip, "I think they're just a little teed off because nobody ever proposed to them." By the end of the 1970s, the feminist movement have achieved its goals of outlawing gender discrimination in education, college sports, and obtaining financial credit, banning employment discrimination of pregnant women, the legalization of abortion and birth control, and established reconcilable differences as grounds for divorce and equal property division.
While radical feminists may have had some questionable strategies, they most certainly achieved their goal of uniting women in the fight for equality. In the words of Sonia Johnson, one of the basic tenets of radical feminism is that any woman in the world has more in common with any woman, regardless of class, race, age, ethnic group, nationality, than any woman has with any man.